today's video, I thought we'd take a look at something that you don't see a lot of out on the field. Now, this is something that a lot of people seem to have interest in, but a vast number of people just don't bother to get into this. And what I'm talking about specifically is the 40mm grenade launcher. Probably the most popular version that everybody's familiar with is the M203 underbarrel design. This is a single barrel, fires one shot and then you have to reload. And there's a lot of advantages to these. So today I thought we'd take a look at different options for 40mm grenade launchers and some things that you probably didn't know about as well. 40mm 203 on an M4. Probably the most common shell that you're going to see when you get into these sort of things is the shower grenade. These have a number of different barrels and they come in a few different lengths so that you can get more or less BBs into them. One of the problems with these is that it takes a long time to load up each individual barrel. You have to sit there with a speed loader and load up each chamber, and each chamber holds 5, 10, 15, 20 rounds depending on the length of it. And there's basically an O-ring that goes around it that keeps the BBs from coming out. But it takes a good while to load that. For people that wanted to get away from that, there was the larger, the shell with a larger bore to it. This actually turns out is also the same exact size as a standard paintball, which is kind of handy because you can launch not only airsoft BBs, but regular paintball projectiles. And for certain things, we actually use these rubber paintballs that just fit right into it. You can load several of them if you want to fire it off like buckshot. It's much quicker to load, obviously, because you can just dump the ammo into it, close it off. You could just put a piece of masking tape over it. They also sell rubber plugs that you can stick in there if you want to stop it up. But those cost money, and the cheaper way is to just stick a piece of masking tape over it. They work very simply. Most of them use green gas. There are CO2 versions of this. Some of the older ones, you have to reset the plunger on it each time. Some of the newer ones have self-resetting plungers on it. So essentially you just reset it, you just press it a little bit, it clicks back out, you put your gas in it, load your BBs into it, plug it up in whatever manner you want to, and then you can just load it into your launcher. And it'd probably be a good idea to have several of them on you because most of the grenade launchers, like this single barrel version, are not repeaters, so you have to carry extra ammo with you. Disadvantages are it takes a little while to reload. The biggest advantage is probably the most obvious is you cover a huge amount of space with it. So if you want to absolutely make sure that you hit your target, this is probably the most efficient way of doing that. Single barrel launcher with a shower round. Not terribly impressive. Single barrel launcher with a larger round. A little better. Now, one of the mods that I've done with the single barrel launcher is I sort of took the paintball concept to an extreme. I actually mounted a paintball barrel inside of the grenade launcher so that when you put the shell in, it lines up with the barrel and it gives you a tighter grouping. So it's almost like putting a choke on a shotgun, so you get a much tighter pattern from your shot rather than having a large spread. You're hitting a very narrow focus, so if you really want to wake somebody up, this is a great way to do that. Also, if you're doing the thing, as I was talking about before, with firing the paintballs out of it, you get fairly decent accuracy out of something like this. So this is one of these concepts that I'm trying to work out a way that we could use this here in the arena for a particular game type. My biggest concern is that when you fire this through a chronograph, considering the weight of the projectile, you're getting 6 to 8 joules, which is enough to be like one of those non-lethal rounds that the police use to break up rioters. So you obviously don't want to be shooting people with something like that, but for shooting at static targets, it might be a good way to do it. So I'm just trying to work out a game mode that we could use something like this and not have people get hurt. This is the single barrel launcher with the modified barrel on it. See if this does any better. Definitely more concentrated. Now, something that you can use that takes away that problem of only having one shot is the 6-shot Milcore grenade launcher. This one has a wind-up 6-shot magazine, or whatever you want to call it. It's basically a revolver. You essentially just take your shells and just drop them in until you fill up all of the spaces. And then once you've done that, let's see how quickly I can do this. You wind it up. It's got a spring-loaded system. And then once it's all wound up, as you fire it, it will revolve. And there's a little gas in that one. A little gas in that one too. So a little quicker way to shoot without having to, worry about reloading. It's a bit of a stretch to reload it at this point. You really have to seek cover and hope that somebody can cover you while you're reloading something like this. But if you've got like a large number of people charging at you and you need to put down a huge amount of fire, this is a great way to do that. 6-shot milk core. Pretty hard to miss with that. Something else that's available for 40 millimeter launchers are some specialized shells that shoot single projectiles. This one here shoots a single foam slug. It doesn't shoot any other kind of projectile on it, so you're kind of left with just shooting these. I guess you could manufacture more of them if you use them up. Another one is the tag-in round. This shoots a multitude of different rounds that are available for it. There are some that are loaded with paint. There are some that are actual pyrotechnic rounds that will actually explode on contact. And then there's just the target rounds like these. The tag-in is unique in that the launcher is actually like a rifled barrel. So the projectile fits into it. It gives it a spiral, which makes it inherently more accurate than anything else on the market. One of the great things about the tag-in is that the actual diameter of the projectile is exactly the size as a practice golf ball. This is a foam golf ball that fits into it, which makes a great low impact kind of projectile if you actually want to shoot at people. I wouldn't recommend shooting the regular tag-in projectiles at people because we did try shooting at one of our guys with one of these, and he felt like you could actually probably break a rib or something if you got hit, full on with that. So this gives you a way of actually using it, shooting a large projectile and not risking any kind of major injury to your target. All right, 40 millimeter rocket launcher with a tag-in round. Now, to make full use of the tag-in round, you can use a regular M203 or a 6-barrel launcher for that matter if you wanted to. But I decided to come up with something a little more unique. And there are some like Bazooka style launchers that are out there on the market that look like a Law or even like an RPG. I decided to actually manufacture my own. This is something that I made out of PVC tubing. So this is just a bunch of junk that I picked up at Home Depot. Just basically comes apart like that. You have the barrel assembly. The round fits into the back of it, and then that just simply fits into the unit, and then it's ready to go. I disassembled a different 40 millimeter launcher, so I've got the mechanism built into it. So this gives you a great way of sort of simulating a large, like anti-tank bazooka without having to worry about spending a lot of money. Essentially, this is probably about, I don't know, maybe $10 or $12 worth of PVC pipe. So if you're on a budget and you have the means to do something like this, this may be a great project you want to try. 40 millimeter with a rubber golf ball. Worked pretty good. So if you're looking for something a little different and you're kind of getting bored of the regular airsoft guns, you may want to look into one of these 40 millimeter launchers. It certainly gets a lot of attention when you show up on the field with one of these. I know a lot of people are a little worried about getting shot with one of these, but the honest to goodness truth is if you're just shooting BBs out of this, it's probably a lower impact than if you're getting shot with like an HPA gun or even an electric gun for that matter. So, I wouldn't be too terribly concerned about suffering any kind of permanent injuries because you're getting shot with one of these. And it's just a lot of fun. So you may want to look into these. We've got a ton of them here in the showroom. If you want to try some out, you can take them out on the field and take a few shots with it. We may even, in the very near future, come up with a few game modes that actually utilize these things. So stay tuned and I'll let you know what we come up with. So until then, don't let the bastards get you down.
All right, you're good.
Ready? Here we go. 40 millimeter
rocket launcher with a rubber golf ball. Ready?